I see that. It's a good thing.
Good evening and welcome to the Municipality of Monroeville's Citizens Night and Agenda Setting Meeting for December 5th, 2019. If you'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, I was in the Army with your brother.
Is there anyone that has signed in to address council? Now would be your time for citizens' remarks, please.
Bit of a crowd. It's okay.
Good evening, gentlemen and
Good evening.
ladies.
Hello, if you can state your name for the record, please.
I'm Margot. My last name is Rosbarski. I have dual citizenship with the city of Pittsburgh and Monroeville, and my taxes are paid, and I have not been arrested.
Great. Welcome, Margot.
That means you can talk.
Oh, thank you, sir. Okay, I come to you as a life member of the fire company. I'm supposed to have some help. You notice how many showed up tonight, but this was last minute. I'm here to announce to you we did something good for a change, on a sad note. Thanks to Monroeville number 3, Chief Wynn, Hizzy, Caper, past and present fire chiefs. Mr. Ratcher, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chief Cole, and I've got to say thanks to the Allegheny County Fire Department's archivists and the heroes down there, and my hairdresser, because I really yanked out a few hairs on this call. I don't know how many of you are around to remember this, but in June 28, 1969, there was an explosion that killed 2 firefighters. Just like my father, they were lost for a while. Everybody knew who they were. They were not recognized. So, with the blessings of you old-timers, I decided part of my term paper was going to do that. And then I decided to push it for 9 years to get them on the National Firefighters Wall at Emmitsburg. They are memorialized on there. Unfortunately, many of the family has passed away. 1969, it's 50 years. And there were no such thing as police survivors, national heroes, or anything like the firehero.org that finds these. And back then, how many of you guys remember, we can't talk about that? So, like my family, these families did not get anything from the federal government or the state, and I guess that's why some of it's forgotten. When I started this road, I was going to do it with only the blessings of you guys, or I wasn't going to do it because it was emotional. I consulted Ricky Gebhardt and Rocky Gebhardt, the police historians. So 4 years of final paperwork, a stack of about this much paper, and we set forth the journey. Come to know through this whole explosion, there was a 10-year-old female injured, an 18-year-old firefighter was injured, a 56-year-old firefighter at the time was injured, and a 20-year-old firefighter was injured. That turned out to be, when I left for the city, my supervisor, Steve Carlson, who recently passed. He was my boss. Little did I know he was part of the injuries that were consumed that night. And we had 2 firefighters dead. The certs that I handed you is official. They are on the wall. It says 2018, but it was not confirmed until 2019. The 2018 is when I sent everything in. So tonight we're going to let you guys know that they're not forgotten. You have the official receipts, Mayor. To the families, we've extended the graciousness of the journey. I don't know how they get over the pain. You just don't. And I presented a flag for the current line of duty to Mr. Poach, and I will see the guys over at number 3, and it's the red line flag to be hung in the stations. As I said, this isn't about me. This is about the two guys that passed and their families that were left behind. So thank you.
No, thank you,
Thanks,
Mark.
Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work on that. It's very important. Very important item, and we certainly appreciate all of our first responders here in Monroeville, and certainly the ones that have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our community. So, thank you, Marco.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else that would like to address council for any municipal item?
That was something that
Land check.
emotional journey.
My name's Bob Williams, and I am a resident of Monroeville. Just going to read a statement. As an incumbent councilman member, I was contacted about a road condition in Monroeville. I went to look at the road, which is Patton Street, and in my opinion, I considered it to be a failure and being unsafe. Many heavy trucks travel that road, and I had a meeting with Deputy Mayor Mr. Cinco and informed him of the problem. Immediately, he called the county supervisor in charge of that, and on December the 3rd, they shut down the road and started repairs. I would like to thank Deputy Mayor Mr. Cinco, Allegheny County, those that was involved in it, and this is a result of county government and Monroeville working together. The road was back open today, so that was only 4 days closed, and they had it open. So I think that's a great way for the county and the municipality to work together. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Mr. Cinco, nice work. Thank you.
And it won't be your first phone call.
Yeah, first of many, Mr. Williams. Is there anyone else that would like to address council on any municipal item? Seeing none, we're going to close that portion of the meeting. Council, let's move over to our agenda for Tuesday. We have an executive session announcement that council, excuse me,
That's us.
that's us, right?
People.
We're getting towards the end of the year.
Yabba dabba doo.
Got another one.
This council conducted an executive session for personnel and litigation reasons prior to Citizens Night, Thursday, December 5th, 2019, beginning at 6:15 p.m. until 7 p.m. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at the December 10th council meeting. Council, in front of you, we have the minutes of the budget hearing of November 7th, 2019, the Citizens Night meeting of November 7th, 2019, the council work session of November 7th, 2019, regular council meeting of November 12th, 2019, and the budget hearing of November 14th, 2019. Does anyone have any comments, corrections, or additions of those minutes?
No, sir.
Very good. Council, the tax collection reports, you were able to review those. Any comments or questions?
No,
Oh, sure.
And for our list of bills and budget transfers, Mrs. Gatos, any questions?
No, sir, thank you.
Mr. Poach?
No, sir.
Mr. Harvey?
I have three. I'm sorry, Tim, I didn't get a chance to call you today, so. On page 43, there is a $15,000 and $88 bill for, I'll share it with you. I just didn't know what that was for. It just says cameras.
Yeah, these are for the license plate reading cameras. One's going down to Young's Corner. I think one is down in Turtle Creek. These are all the
The ones that
cameras
are at intersections.
Right, exactly,
Okay.
yeah, that's what those are for.
That was the first one. On page 18, it just says travel basketball uniforms, $3,496. I don't understand what that is.
I'll have to talk to Joanne about that, or Paul Hecky.
Wouldn't that be a park and rec expense?
Yeah,
For-
exactly.
Yeah, one of the sign-up programs.
Okay. Hecky, okay. I would imagine that's just a pass-through, they pay
Yeah.
for that, and then we purchase that for them.
And then on page 16, there's a $2,077 fee for stormwater fee lawsuit.
Oh, that's for engineering for Gateway.
Yes.
Okay, that's for Mr.
Deseroth.
Deseroth, thank you. I was going to say Deseroth. That's for Mr. Deseroth.
We've retained an independent engineer,
Okay.
Ron, to serve as an expert
Yeah.
to defend those two lawsuits, and that money is for part of his services for preparing the reports.
Mr. Mayor, I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Get back to the uniforms.
Very good.
Nothing, sir.
Nothing, sir.
All right. Mr. Duncan, Mr. Wilson.
Nothing, thank you.
Very good. And payroll report. Council, any questions, comments?
No, sir.
Seeing none, very good. Council, our vacancies on boards, commissions, and authorities, this is something that we always vote on at the regular council meeting. But I just want to maybe get this out there, that with the authorities, which is the Finance Authority and the Municipal Authority, for those boards, there is some case law that says that we need to wait until January to do those things.
That's correct.
And Mr. Ratcher, I'm saying that correctly? That's
Yeah,
accurate?
what it is any entity that's formed under the Municipal Authorities Act, the terms of office of those people who are appointed to those authorities runs until the first Monday in January, very similar to the way council terms run. They don't end at the end of the year like our other boards and commissions do. So the law says that you cannot appoint somebody until there's an actual vacancy. So being that they don't expire until the first Monday in January, you can't appoint them until after that, because there would obviously not a vacancy.
Right. So I just want to put that out there for council, that we won't be considering those authority board positions. However, I would recommend that we don't do any of our boards for December and wait for January because we have some new council members coming in. Also, the vacancies don't happen until January anyway. That's
But
certainly,
that's not
that's the
true.
pleasure of council.
There's one well, I know Park and Rec for sure. There's a open term that's a January 18 to December 2020.
Yeah, it's for a vacancy, that's a different story.
Yeah, that's what
Correct.
I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's
that
an
is
open.
Yeah, if it's a
One
vacant,
and
Open
if it's
seat, so
filled.
if
One
there's
and-
anyone from 5 that wants to apply for that, they could still be,
I've been asking.
I know.
Correct. Yeah, so the ones that are,
I
that
don't know that
expire at the
there's
end of
any
the
other
year, I would
ones.
say we maybe hold off. But any of
Yeah.
them that are, like, current ones that are vacant, that need to be
Agreed.
filled immediately, then council could do that. But it's certainly, that's up to council on Tuesday. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bids and proposals, we have one for this evening, our surplus equipment bid. Mr. Little, please.
Yeah, Mr. Sedlak was taking care of that. Joe, you have any update on that?
We had a lot of equipment and vehicles this time around. Since Paul took over, he kind of cleaned out a lot of the public works areas, and in the end, we made $22,443.25. So not too bad for 15, 20-year-old vehicles that don't run real well anymore. So,
Don't say it out loud.
Happy to, yeah, exactly. Happy to get them off the lot.
yeah.
Excellent. Nice work, everyone involved, so.
So we'll have that as a motion on Tuesday night to let those assets go, sold for that amount.
Very good. Any other questions, council? Nope. So our consent agenda, our old business in the red section there in your packet, 18-3-ST Joseph M. Knapp. Mr. Little.
Okay, applicant is requesting site plan approval to construct 5,606 square feet of warehouse building and associated site amenities. Property is known as Lot 1 in the Moya Industrial Park and identified as parcel 741D42H in the M1 Planning Industrial Zoning District. Applicant is requesting reapproval of this site plan. Council approved this site plan on November the 13th, 2018. There's a letter attached in your packet.
Mr. Wilden, if you could help us out.
Sure, it's a very small site plan. It's for a warehouse for a concrete contractor, and he's been having some trouble getting his engineer to finalize all the required permits that are required, and he's run out of time, so he's just asking essentially for an extension.
And your department doesn't have any issue?
There are some unresolved comments, and that's one of the reasons he needs the extension, more time to get his ducks in a row.
Comments from you guys?
Partially, he needs a PennDOT HOP, highway occupancy permit,
No, I get
planning
that.
module, MPDS permits, things of that nature.
But locally, is there any issues with them?
No, it's a pretty small project in the scope of things in Monroeville. We don't really have any issues with it.
So are we voting on an extension, or this is saying, requesting site approval? And then the letter says an extension, and you're saying extension. What are we voting on?
The way it works is he has a year to get started, 2 years to get finished. He hasn't started
Right.
anything yet, so his approval is going to expire.
Okay,
So we consider that a reapproval.
a reapproval of the exact same thing that he probably
Exact same-
approved the first time.
Correct.
But it's not,
But
a-
it will be held with comment, though, of getting the other approvals
Correct.
that you spoke of. Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Good.
All those items, he would still be required to
Yes,
follow through those
okay.
items
Yeah,
that we
nothing's
approved.
changed, yeah.
I just wanted to make
We're
sure
just
that's
extending
what we were,
But it's not expired yet?
It's real close.
My problem is that there was a development down on Old Wham Penn that we turned this very request down for, and I don't want to make sure we don't get stuck in a problem there.
This is the first extension for him. This isn't something that has reoccurred with this particular developer, so I don't really see an issue with it.
That's up for council to decide on Tuesday.
Mr. Ratcher, do you see,
No, all of these rise and fall on their own merits. So the fact that council in the past has perhaps in some cases approved them, in other cases denied them, all these come before you on their own merits, and based on what's presented here, it sounds like nothing's changing.
Nothing happened. Yeah.
So it's probably just a ministerial thing in terms of the fact that nothing's changing. It's not like there's a regulation now that he has to meet that now he cannot meet, or he didn't have to meet last time. So I think it's within council's discretion if they want to extend it. I think it's, it fits.
okay.
okay.
Any other comments, council?
Nope.
Very good. Motions for this evening, we have one. Mr. Little.
okay, a motion to authorize to advertise an ordinance amending ordinance number 2678, appointing Timothy J. Little as the municipal manager of the Municipality of Monroeville and establishing the compensation and benefits of the municipal manager pursuant to Section 701 of the Monroeville Home Rule Charter.
Yes, and council, that section 701, that it says that the manager's contract has to be renewed every 2 years in January. So any comments or questions about that, council?
Nope.
Very good. We will consider that on Tuesday.
Okay.
Ordinances.
Okay,
Do you have
You're
something?
one, two, three.
Are you good?
No, I'm fine.
Ordinances, we have 7 for this evening. Mr. Ratcher.
First ordinance is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville fixing the real estate millage for land, buildings, and structures for 2020.
And, there's going to be a few in a row here that all revolve
Yeah,
around the
right.
budget. These are all budget items. And then we'll put them all together and we could discuss.
Sounds good. The next one is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville to provide for the adoption of a budget containing estimates of proposed revenues and expenditures for the calendar year beginning January 1, 2020. The third one is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville continuing the deed transfer, mercantile tax, business privilege tax, and local services tax pursuant to the Local Tax Enabling Act of 1965 as amended. Then we have the fourth ordinance is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville adjusting the salary system structure of 2020. The fifth ordinance is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville establishing the 2020 fee schedule.
Very good.
Those are the budget-related ordinances, and then we have 2 more, but they're not related to the budget.
Correct. Yeah, so council, let's hold off on those on number 6 and number 7 for now. We have 5 ordinances that are all tied together with the 2020 budget. If there's any questions or comments about those items, council?
Nope, all good.
I'm good.
Well, no, I have one. It had to do with, in the budget, there's a $15,000 line item, if you will, to hire someone to take a look at our business district and work with our CBB. I would like to see that either set aside or removed. I think our CBB and our Monroeville Chamber does a great job, and I think they would have all the data that we need.
Any other comments on that?
Mr. Harrison, my opinion is to leave it in there, and if we choose not to use it for that, then we don't.
I'd like to hear from my colleagues on council.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way, Greg. I think that we've had the discussion on development for some time. to do that. Whether it's specific to just, an individual or a team or a group or an organization, I don't think we have to decide that per se. So if it's a firm.
Well, that's why I said set aside or get rid of it.
I think we should leave it in there so that we have it to use. What I'm saying is, we don't know if it's an individual, a person, a firm, an organization, to leave it in there. A group, leave it in there so we still have the means to put it in. Yeah, to do that.
Well, to that point, if you could, pardon me, Mr. Little, so let's say Mr. Harvey's comment about leaving in there, and if maybe we use it, we do, if not, if we were to decide to keep it in there, and then a firm or an individual would be hired, or a proposal, that would come in front of council again.
Exactly. It would,
So we would have, council would have another
Fine, but
crack
I
at
wanted
it.
to
yeah,
bring
you'd
that
actually
up.
have two.
So you explain
First of all, if, I have been talking for almost a year now with two different national firms that come into communities across the country, and they help with economic development. Now, our Visit Monroeville obviously can help us out also. But if at any time that I would, let's say, for instance, bring a proposal to council and say, this is what this company would do above and beyond what Visit Monroeville could do, you could say no. You could say yes. And $15,000 is a modicum amount of money for an endeavor like this, but as I mentioned at the budget hearing, it's basically a start. So you have the opportunity there, to do that, but even given that, if a bill showed up, you could not approve it in a list of bills. So there's two different avenues that just because something is in a budget, irrespective of the subject we're talking about now, that doesn't necessarily mean the money has to be spent. It's earmarked, it's there.
It would still be in the general fund.
Yeah,
So-
it's still in the
As long as
general
we
fund.
can have another bite at the apple, I'm okay.
Oh, unquestionably.
Yeah, it'd be discussed first. I think
Unquestionably.
maybe that's the point you're making.
Unquestionably.
Just to make sure that,
I'll withdraw that, but I'm fine.
no, I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
And would that be enough to support this company to
No,
come in?
$15,000 is kind of just a start, a very small start.
Yeah.
All right. They would have to prove their worth to you up at the podium there. That's the way I would handle that.
Right.
They're well aware that they do this all over the country. I've talked to them at the International City Managers Association the past 2 years. And I have one that's probably going to call me in the next week or so to find out what is going on. And I'll tell them exactly what's going on here and what happened at the meeting here. So.
Very good.
That was good.
Very good.
Good.
Yeah, Mr. Little, you brought up a good distinction, too, about the budget. If something is put in the budget, it doesn't necessarily mean it's being spent. And we've done this
Yeah,
before, even with,
sure.
there's been hires, like positions we've put in for, and either they weren't hired or there was a delay in hiring. So just because it's put in there does not mean that those tax dollars are being spent automatically.
You have it if you need it.
Exactly.
It's the same with your home budget, I mean,
Exactly.
I'm good.
And then I just want to make just a really quick announcement about number one. So the fixing the millage rate, just so everyone knows that there is not a tax increase in this budget for 2020. That's an important thing, I think, to get out there to the public in this budget. So, Council, are there any other budget items?
No.
Any other budget comments, questions?
Mr. Little, are you going to discuss the Moody statements that you sent to us? I mean, due to the fact that we haven't raised our taxes, that we have paid things down, we got a really great report from Moody's. Are you going to discuss a comment at the end of the meeting, or would now be an appropriate
Well,
talking about budgetary stuff that affects it?
Well, any kind of budgetary stuff, I've put Josie at the forefront here. It's under her, and I wanted her to chime in here because she's done most of the work on this as far as the nuts and the bolts. So if you have anything in particular, I can talk about the Moody's report if you want me
Well, I
to.
just thought it was, it was a good report.
Yeah.
And the people should know that we've worked hard to not borrow money and not take bonds out and, pay as the money comes in. And it's getting tougher and tougher to
Right.
keep that up.
Well, exactly. Now that you bring that up, we got our another Moody's report as we did about 18 months ago, And it was a very good report, and one of the biggest reasons why it was a good report is that we do have a good business district, as everybody knows. We have a good base with respect to real estate and income coming in with business tax, and we also have a very good fund balance, and we have a very low debt. Our pensions are decently funded. I'm not saying they're 100% funded. Very few pension plans are. But our Moody's report was very good, and our bond rating is very good.
Is it?
And so that part of it, as far as the report from Moody's, which if you get a good report, if you do go out and float a bond, that means you're going to get a favorable interest rate, and you're going to be paying less on your debt service. However, as Mrs. Gato said, we have a good fund balance. However, we're going to have a capital improvement plan that council is going to be approving in the very near future here, because the department heads have been working on it. And that fund balance is going to be, and especially during this month of December and even November, we've been spending money, and it's money well spent. We're looking at different things for this building and the senior citizens, for security. So there's a lot of money that is going to be spent from the fund balance coming up in 2020 due to putting together a capital improvement program. Our fund balance should still be good at the end of 2020, but not as good as at the end of 19. So as council has a worksheet that Josie has put together that I emailed to council about the different revisions in the budget and the use of the fund balance, that tells the tale, and I'll let Josie answer any specific questions about that if council has any. However, as I've been saying, as I said in my budget message, there's a note of caution with respect to moving into 2020 and going into 2021 with respect to, I don't want to say a tax increase. I'm not saying we are going to have a tax, and that's obviously up to council. But it's something that has to be looked at because of capital items being spent on buildings that haven't been spent the last 5-6 years. They're going to have to be done in 2020 moving forward. And we want to be able to pay for that in order to keep the buildings up, the roads up, and all the infrastructure and all the assets that have to do, with the municipality, vehicles, all of the capital items that for the past 5 years we've been keeping up with, but not as much as I think we should be. And police vehicles, we've been keeping up with that. Public works vehicles, we're spending some money on that because we have to. So this is all part of running a railroad, as I always say to the staff, and it's all part of running a municipality that we have to do. So it's a decision council is going to have to make after they adopt the capital improvement program and where we're going to be standing with the fund balance at the end of 2020, moving into next year's budget on how we're going to handle the capital items moving forward for the next 4 years. So
The good news, Tim, is that we are not borrowing any additional
Correct.
money.
Correct.
our debt service is coming down. Our debt service will decrease significantly in the year 2024, I believe it is. It'll go down a little bit in 2023, but then it'll significantly go down in 2024. So at that point, let's say in the year 2022, then that council can maybe look at maybe floating a bond if they wish. At least it's an option at that point to say, hey, we may want to float a bond for X amount of millions of dollars in order to do this, this, and that, whatever the case might be. Debt can be a good thing. Everybody buys a house, and most people buy a house with a mortgage. And that's a good thing because you have a house that appreciates, although not a lot of things appreciate in a municipality, they mostly depreciate. But that's the time in about the year 2022 you might look at possibly maybe floating a bond, if need be. I'm not saying to do it, but I'm saying if needed.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Exactly.
I just want everyone to know that, even though we're not raising taxes now, there's a capital improvement coming, and that's all going to come out of our fund balance. So
Exactly.
Well, it's our job to leave those people a healthy age.
Well, we want to try, because we certainly weren't left one.
Very good. So, council, there are 5 ordinances that revolve around the budget. Now we have 2 more that are unrelated to the budget. Mr. Ratcher, number 6, please.
An ordinance authorizing the proper officials of Monroeville to enter into a collective bargaining agreement for the years 2019 through 2022 with the Police Department Wage Policy Committee of the Municipality of Monroeville.
Any questions or comments? Sir. Mr. Ratcher.
An ordinance authorizing the proper officials of Monroeville to enter into a collective bargaining agreement for the years 2020 through 2023 with the PSSU Local 668 SEIU representing the municipal clerical workers and the emergency telecommunications officers.
Comments? Seeing none, thank you very much. Reports of our municipal staff. Mr. Ratcher, do you have anything this evening?
Nothing further.
Mr. Little, please.
Okay, yeah, as I mentioned last month, Northern Pike is going to be repaired due to the hillside on Northern Pike near Abers Creek Road, about 800 feet, because the hillside is slipping. That most likely is going to be starting in January. The correspondence we received from PennDOT a couple months ago said it will start in January and finish in May. Sometimes those schedules move. And they will let one lane of traffic go, and how they handle that traffic, they said in the letter that they would handle it through having a portable traffic light. But these things are always in flux, and depending on how they handle it is obviously up to PennDOT. But that will be under construction in the early part of 2020. Also, Christmas and New Year's weeks, the refuse and recycling will be a day late. And also, one other item, obviously, I have to say, Mr. Johns and Mr. Duncan will be leaving this dais up here, and they've spent the last 8 years up here, and I want to thank them for their service. And just mention to the public, you get elected to public office, and people just see the elected officials up here, but you don't know the amount of hours and work that goes into their community service. And I just want to thank the 2 gentlemen for their community service that they have done for 8 years up here. There's a lot of work, and it's not a lot of money that they get paid, but they do it for the community, and and I just want to thank you very much for doing that.
Appreciate that.
Very good.
And I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and also speedy recovery to your mom, Nick.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Little. Very good. Well said. Mr. Hughes, anything this evening?
No, sir.
Can I ask Mr. Hughes one question? You have any idea if they're ever going to turn that light or get that other piece of pole put up at Turnpike Garden?
Well, I sure hope so. As I told you.
I have never seen a company work so long to put up a light.
Like I said, we're paying per project, not per hour.
It's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm just curious.
He wants to get it done before his term's over.
That's not going to happen.
I'll be happy to get it done before I retire.
Let's hope so. Ms. Rock, anything?
I'm just going to circle back to the changes to the budget, the spreadsheet that I worked on, and just point out a few things. The details there for you to look at yourself. But referring back to the use of fund balance, we started out at 2.3 million, and we had items that we weren't anticipating after, we did our preliminary budget, which brought our use of fund balance up by 827,000. So part of that, the bulk of that, the 610,000, was related to the ambulance request from the fire department for the ambulance contribution, and 460,000 in wage increases, probably mostly due to union increase and 3 more police officers. So that brings our current use of fund balance to 3.2 million. And within your budget, there is a little chart that'll show you how we are whittling away at that fund balance. So
What is our balance today in the fund balance?
I don't know that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something that'll fluctuate and,
Can you let us know Tuesday?
well,
Or an approximate by Tuesday?
fund balance is basically your cash minus your liabilities. Now, for me to give you an actual accounting summary of that, I would need to have, work with the auditors. That's something that we'll be doing as of the end of the year. But I can give you a rough estimate of what we have in our bank as of November 30th.
I guess what
And-
council's probably looking for.
Is that what
That's
you're
adequate.
looking for? You're
Yeah,
not
just, I
concerned
think it
about
would
the
just be
liabilities?
just the cash, Josie. I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying with respect
Yeah.
to accrued.
Well, I'll give you the cash balance on
Okay,
Tuesday.
great. Thank you.
But just because if you have, it's like everybody else, you balance your checkbook, and if you have $500 in your checkbook, but you have $5,000 worth of bills outstanding, that's not too good.
Right.
I mean, but, so that's, and Josie didn't want to mislead anybody on
Exactly.
on that. I mean, but, I mean, I think they're just looking for the cash balance,
That's
Josie.
all, just a number then.
All right.
Very good, thank you. And we'll move over to our reports of our council members. Mr. Wilson, anything this evening?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple things to say to Mr. Duncan and to JJ after he gets off his phone.
Well,
No, it was a pleasure serving with you two. And when this all started for me 6 years ago, we were one big happy family. And we've hit some bumps in the road along the way. But you guys are always there for me. And I really appreciate your strong efforts for this community. And I'm going to miss both of you.
thanks, Tom.
Good luck.
Thank you.
That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Duncan?
I'm going to save my comments for Tuesday.
Yeah, you guys aren't done yet.
Yeah,
You
we're not
got
done.
one more.
But I
Taking
appreciate
you out the
everybody's.
door early,
Right.
here's your coat.
Mr. Arasinko?
Just speedy recovery to your mom, for
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you.
And as Tim said, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody. Please have a safe one. And I'll have a little more report on Tuesday.
Very good. Mr. Johns?
Yeah, real quick, I just want to remind everybody that Santa's Kids event is coming up this Monday at Paul Mary's out on Old Frankstown Road, 4:30 to whenever. If you can, stop by. Thanks.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes, I just want to remind the Logan's Ferry Road residents that the stormwater meeting on the 11th of this month at 7 o'clock in these very council chambers. I'm going to try to do this one the best I can. I got handed this today. Shabbat Jewish Center is having a third annual Light Up Night at the Miracle Mile Shopping Center on Sunday, December 22nd at 5:30. And they will be giving away gift drops from the fire truck, and Gateway Elementary fourth grade choir will be there, so everybody's encouraged to attend. And there will be an event this Saturday, the 7th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Chick-fil-A. It is sponsored by the Monroeville Volunteer Fire Department, Chick-fil-A, and Target. The event is a stuff-a-limo with toys. It will be, they will be for toys for Pittsburgh Tykes. Anyone that stops by and donates a toy will be given a gift card from Chick-fil-A, and please try to stop by and support those guys. I just wanted to express my, initially, I didn't know what had occurred with the mayor's mother, but I hope she is feeling well and does well.
Thank you.
And I wanted to compliment, because I didn't want to take the time Tuesday, I wanted to compliment Paul Hugus and all the supervisors over at Public Works. They have done a great job since they've taken over. I have seen the difference And, God, I've seen training that has never happened there before, and I think it can do nothing but better in the future. Lastly, I want to thank Jim Johns and Steve Duncan, because 6 years ago, I don't know how many residents remember that this place was a debacle, in my opinion. And that was putting it politely.
Yeah.
And I don't know how Mr. Duncan and Mr. Johns and the mayor, Nick Griesok, survived it, but they did. And I think they did a tremendous amount of work to maintain and keep the municipality intact as best they could, even though they were a minority. But I want them to know that I recognize that. I sat out there and watched it. I was here every meeting. I, as one of the residents, as part of the fire department, as part of public safety, they are the reason that the dispatch center is still here. And so I want to thank them both for not only putting up with that, but everything they've done in their 8 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Mr. Poach.
Nothing extensive. I'm going to wait to say goodbye to those guys on Tuesday. If somebody else
Well, they
does
might not
too.
show up, actually.
I'll be here.
Yeah,
You don't know. You got them both here.
Well,
So
I'm
you
waiting
never
for
know.
a Christmas bonus.
Yeah, so you get that as well.
Very good. Mr. Poach, anything else this evening?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Gatos.
I want to say happy holidays to everyone. And I also want to remind everyone you can make donations to the Monroeville Animal Shelter. Christmas is a nice time to do it. Do it through Amazon or Chewy.com. Also, in regards to Patton Road, thank you, Mr. Williamson, Mr. Osinko, Mr. Yugas, and I have been working on that to get the county to come out and fix that problem. So I'm glad that it's being addressed for the residents that I spoke with. And I'm sure that they are very happy to even put up with the little bit of problem they had to till it was done. Best wishes for health for your mother, Mayor. I know dealing with the issues of my mother going through is difficult. And Mr. Duncan and Mr. Johns, we will say goodbye on Tuesday.
Got
I'm
it.
going to make them show up.
Okay? Because I want to see your new suit, Mr. Johns.
Oh, you'll see it.
I know.
Yeah, but you see,
So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So that's all for tonight.
Might go
Free
to-
peace, Linda, free peace.
Very good. Today in Monroeville, the Monroeville Area Chamber of Commerce had their annual luncheon and rock awards. Marty Griffin of KDK was out speaking, and we appreciate everyone that came out and got involved with that, and Sean Logan and his staff for the hard work they do the entire year for our community, for our business community. Smiling Media Group, they are an advertising company, and the Chabad Jewish Center of Monroeville were both honored with awards annually for their contributions to our community, so we appreciate everything they've done, and look forward to continued efforts of the Chamber of Commerce working with our community. And Mr. Harvey did mention the Chabad Jewish Center is having their annual light-up night on Sunday, December 22nd in the Miracle Mile. We also had our 50th anniversary of our holiday tree lighting event, so the Chabad Center's got a couple more years to catch up with that, but our annual event at the Old Stone Church, the Monroeville Historical Society does a lot of work with this. The Monroeville Chorus puts on a wonderful show for the evening. That was on Tuesday, the 26th of November. It's always the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, but it was a wonderful event, very well attended, and just a really one of the brighter spots in our community, one of the really nice events that Monroeville puts on. So we're also looking forward to this other light-up night here, because it is the holiday season, but also, lights are universal symbols of all that is good in the world, so it's a very positive thing, so hopefully there's plenty of light here in this community.
Mr. Mayor, before you go for an adjournment, I forgot one other thing. I made a promise to one of our residents.
We'll save it for a moment here. I just want to thank the staff and Mr. Little and the staff for all the hard work on the budget. It's an enormous document and a lot of hard work, so great job, Josie, and all the other department heads and staff that put that together and work hard on this to present it to council. and we'll be considering it on Tuesday. And that's all I have for this evening. Mr. Arsenko, you had something
Just real
else?
quick, I did hear from one of the senior council members, and I think Mr. Little certainly addressed that, but I promised him I would make mention that we are going to certainly take care of the senior center and make sure it's a much safer facility. Not just the senior center, it'll be the library, public works, and the municipal building as well. So I made a promise I would say it. I said, I promised him I wouldn't use his name, so thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to do that.
No, very well said, and I agree, and I think council agrees with those sentiments as well. We're going to get it done, so.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Mr. Johns, Mr. Duncan, last agenda-setting meeting and work session, so we have one more to go, and we appreciate all your hard work to our community, but
Thank you.
we'll still say goodbye on Tuesday.
Okay.
With that, I would like to seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you and good night.
A lot of help.
See, we were opposed.